Hey, welcome to week number 3 of Smart Google Traffic. We're going to get started here in just a minute. This is Ezra, by the way. Feel free to shoot me a message, please, in the chat box. Let me know if you can hear me, if the audio is coming in, and all that.
And Ezra, if you want to make me presenter, I'll go ahead and share those opening slides for you.
Sweet. Brett Curry. All right, and you should be able to see Brett's screen where it says Smart Google Traffic, and it has the logo. And if you can see Brett's screen, just give us a little thumbs up or something, you know. Put 1 in the message box. All right, there we go. I got to get you my updated headshot, Brett Curry.
Yeah, dude, I'm ready. How old is this one?
This one is like 3 or 4 years old.
Okay, all right. So
I have one that's like only 6 months old. That's my one on Facebook.
Better. I'm just glad this isn't like your senior picture or something from high school.
It's like my high school picture. Okay, so we'll go silent for 10 seconds, and then we will actually kick off for real for the recording. All right, we are live. Smart Google Traffic, week 3. My name is Ezra Firestone, and with me I have Brett Curry.
What's up?
Brett, how's it going?
I'm good, man. How about you?
Doing really good. Super excited for branded search, and you know, this is week 3 of Smart Google Traffic, a multi-week course taught by Brett Curry, and I want to remind you of a couple of the ground rules before we get started, just so that you know that this is a beta. So essentially, like, this is live right now. We are with you. We're doing this. It's December 14th, and one of the cool parts of being in a beta course, we only ever do these once. This is the only time this will ever be done. After this, Brett Curry is going to record the course professionally. Professionally meaning like it's, you know, will be broken up into small little modules. It doesn't mean that the content is more valuable. The content in this is super valuable, and you also get the professionally recorded version. And so just a reminder that we are doing this live. It is going to be about an hour to 90 minutes. And one of the things that we're asking of you in the beta is that you give us feedback. We're going to send you an email after every module and ask you for how we could make it better, or where you got stuck, or anything you'd like for us to have elaborated on. And that allows us to, when we create the professional version, have it be more fleshed out for you, so that you can, you know, use it even better as time goes on. So, Brett, I think that's it, man. Ready for you to take it away.
Cool, and I'll also emphasize, you know, we love that feedback. It's super helpful. I'll also use that to even shape the upcoming weeks just a little bit. Like, as we see feedback and you give us ideas, that may even shift how I do next week's session, as an example. And then the other little bonus is Q&A. We will do Q&A at the end of this. Hopefully we'll leave, you know, 15 to 30 minutes for Q&A, which, you know, people that get the final version won't get the Q&A like that. So that's a bonus as well. So
absolutely.
All right. Well, cool. With that, so we are talking branded search or branded text ads, and so we're going to dive into that. You know, if we had to look at this module or this course as a movie, we are starting to get into the action, in my opinion, right? So we got like the characters are established, the plot is kind of there, you kind of get in the picture, and now, man, we're really getting into the action. So super excited about tonight and the upcoming weeks. But just as a reminder, the whole purpose of these campaigns we're building is so you can be everywhere your customers are. So as they're going through the various stages of making that purchase, that as they're going through the shopping funnel, whether they saw you first on Facebook or on Amazon or elsewhere, now they're looking for you on Google, and so we want to be everywhere our customers are so we can expand that funnel and just get more, close more. And so, one question we get a lot is why would we do branded search, right? So,
Hey, Brett,
is,
real
yep,
quick,
yep,
will you move your cursor off of the slide?
yes,
Awesome. Thanks.
that's what I was
Yeah,
saying.
and just echoing what you're saying, like we want to be visible everywhere. Why not? It's just more profit.
Yes, yeah, because and we've looked at a couple of different accounts, but between 70 and 90%, depending on the category, of all people that purchase are going to have multiple visits to your site before they purchase. And often those visits will come from different channels. So you need to be in all those appropriate channels. And so, one of the things that people ask me a lot is, if someone's searching for me by name anyway, why would I pay for that? They're going to click on my organic listing and I'm going to get the sale anyway. They're looking for me by name. How silly is that to bid on my name? But there are actually a bunch of reasons. So as an example, you may be thinking, hey, if I'm Nike and someone types in the keyword Nike, then why would I pay for that ad on the big red box there? That is a branded search ad. Nike pays every time someone clicks on that. So why would they do that? Why not just let someone click on that listing below, which is free, or the knowledge graph area over there on the right, that's all free. Why not just let somebody do that? And so there's actually several reasons, and I want to dive into this. The first one, and this is an important one, if you don't, you will have competitors over time who will try to poach your customers. I know because I do this. This is what we do a lot for our clients. We'll find some competitors that are closely aligned. We'll bid on that competitor's keyword. We'll craft an ad that will hopefully attract them over to click on our offering. And you also have to think about how some people behave when they're searching. Yeah, go
Adding to
ahead.
that real quick before you hop into the second part is
Yeah.
this happened to us last week in our software as a service company where I actually happened to know whose brand it was and emailed them and I just said, hey man, will you not bid on my brand name? But people are going to do it. People are 100% going to do it.
Yep. It will happen, and it will be relatively cheap for someone to do it until you do it. And once you start bidding on your name, you're going to almost always win the impression. You're going to pay a really low CPC. They're going to pay a really high CPC. Unless nobody else is bidding on your name, then your competitor can get it for relatively cheap. And so, people will come in, they will try to steal your customers away. The other thing you got to keep in mind is some people, when they're searching on their phone or on a desktop, they type in Nike, and they're just going to click on the first thing that's there. They may not read that closely, so they may think they're clicking on you when they're clicking on your competitor. And so it is a very strong defensive position to run these kind of campaigns. I believe there's also some offense involved too, and that's what we're going to talk about a lot tonight, but it just makes sense from a competitive perspective. Also, this just allows you to control more real estate. And so you've got things like site link extensions, visual site link extensions, other things you can do to really own that SERP, that search engine results page, so that you can look kind of like Nike, where you type in Nike and you got to scroll before you see anything that's not them. Before you see any other retailer, any other brand, they own that top part of the SERP. And so visual site links, that is a blurry picture, my bad. This is kind of new. This is still in beta, so you still have to get approved to run visual site links. But basically, if you look at all these examples, so KFC on the left, Moana, the kid movie, which my kids adore, Shutterfly there on the right. So the top piece, that's the actual text ad, right? So you have the headline, the display URL, the description, and then below that, those are links to various places within that site. So they're site links, but those are visual site links. And so now you can choose an image plus have the text. You can scroll, so you can swipe to the right to see other options and click through to other pages. And so we're beginning to test that now with some of our clients. You never know with Google. You never know if they'll keep it or if they'll sunset it. But for now, it's looking very promising. And so this is something you can't do with just an organic listing. And so again, there's another example with Zappos. So those are site links right there where it says women's shoes, kids shoes, men's shoes, boots. Those are site links. Visual site links are available through beta and only on the mobile version. But you can see how Zappos just really dominates the top of that SERP. This is another thing too, and this will impact your entire account. So as we look at layering other campaign types, as we look at Google Shopping and YouTube and display remarketing, this can raise your overall account quality score. Now, I think it's important to talk about what quality score is for just a minute, because I think this is super, super important. In my opinion, this is one of the things that made AdWords one of the best ad platforms in the world, right? So if you look at what made organic search just so phenomenal and what made Google almost scary in their ability to interpret what it is you're looking for and to deliver good results, a lot of the organic search went back to Google's innovation around links. How they would look at kind of the social proof of links and how they could use that to judge authority and trustworthy sites and things like that. Well, on the ad side, I think their breakthrough is what's called a quality score. And so this is where Google doesn't just determine who goes where on the page with the ad units just based on bid. So it's not just bid, it actually has a lot to do with your quality score. So your quality score really comes down to 3 factors. And this is super important. It'll impact Google Shopping, which we'll look at next week.
It impacts your entire AdWords. All the money you're spending on Google is going to be impacted by it.
Yeah. And so there's the quality score that's associated with every keyword you bid on, and that's what I'm going to talk about right now. And then we'll talk about kind of your account level quality score. But 3 factors: ad relevance. So is the ad relevant to the keyword or search query that someone's typing in? Is the landing page relevant to that search query or keyword? And then what is the expected click-through rate or the actual click-through rate for your ad for that keyword? And so Google looks at all 3 of those things, and they're trying to determine, hey, is this an ad that people want to see? Is this a landing page people want to visit? And so the cool thing is your quality score directly impacts what you pay to show up. And so the ad rank, or the position that your ad takes on the page, is determined by your max CPC times your quality score. So it's not just the max CPC, it's also the quality score. So the way this works is if you have a much higher quality score, and quality score is on a 1 to 10 scale. So if you have a much higher quality score than other advertisers, you can pay less and outrank them at the same time. So this is a visual that WordStream put together, so full credit to WordStream, Larry Kim, and the guys over at WordStream. And so this kind of gives you a visual. So if you look at that top advertiser, their quality score is a 10. So I'm going to pull my cursor back here. Their quality score is a 10. And so they're willing to pay $2, but because their quality score is a 10, they outrank these other advertisers that are willing to pay $4, $6, and $8 a piece. So this guy right here, the advertiser that's in 4th position, they bid $8 per click. Their max CPC was $8. Someone bidding only $2 outranks them because of quality score. And if you think about it, from Google's perspective, this is brilliant, because this is how you incentivize advertisers to create great ads. And this is how you get advertisers lined up with Google's goals and the end user's goals, right? So when this happens, users get good results, they click ads more, they use Google more, people get more customers, so everybody is happy. But you can kind of see basically, back up here, basically what Google's looking for is you have to pay 1 penny more than the person below you based on the calculation that includes your quality score, right? So that's how they kind of come up with this math. We won't belabor that point for those of you that do not love math, but just suffice it to say, if you have a higher quality score, you can outrank those who have worse quality scores, even if you are bidding quite a bit less. So super cool stuff. All right, so let's just take a quick look at what we're going to dive into. I do want to look at AdWords account structure. So this is important. We'll kind of show the hierarchy of an account. This, I think, will help with all the future sessions as well, so you kind of see how AdWords is how AdWords works at the campaign, ad group, keyword, ad level. So we'll look at that. We'll talk about ad groups and keywords and how to structure those. We're going to talk quite a bit about keyword match types and how to get a proper keyword structure. Then we're going to dig into extensions. So if we're looking at that goal of owning real estate and really commanding presence on the SERP, then you have to use extensions. Also, extensions play a big part in your quality score. So Google just flat out says the more extensions you have, the higher the quality score you'll get, because Google knows that extensions improve your click-through rate. So going back to those three things that impact quality score, ad relevance, landing page relevance, and click-through rate, it's ultimately click-through rate that matters, right? That's the ultimate factor that Google is looking for. And so if you can get a better click-through rate over time, that's going to help your quality score as well, which is really cool. So then we're going to talk about how to craft these branded ads. What do we put in them? What do we say? How does that look? We're going to look at bidding strategies. So again, this is kind of important, right? I'm bidding on my own name, and so how do I do that? What should I be thinking about? And then super important, we'll kind of wrap up by looking at measuring success. And how do we know, is this actually worth it? And how is this playing a role in kind of my greater account plan? So again, the analogy I like to use is that of a team. So if this campaign type, these search ads, these branded text ads, are a player on the team, how do we know that they're contributing to the overall goal? And so we'll dive into that as well. So, all right, here is what an AdWords account looks like. So at the top level, the whole thing is called your account. So that's the account level for AdWords. And then below that, you've got campaigns. And so campaigns are then broken down by ad groups. And then inside each ad group is a collection of keywords and ads. And so the way that works is those collections of keywords and ads go together. So if keywords are together with ads in an ad group, then when when someone types in a search query that matches your keyword, then that ad or one of those ads will show to the user. Now let me actually give you some real examples here. I think it'll make it a little more concrete and easier to understand.
And for those of you who are familiar with Facebook advertising, which in this day and age, more people are familiar with Facebook than Google, which is kind of wild to me.
It is, yeah.
Coming from the Google days, but this is your campaign ad set and ad structure. So very similar to the Facebook structure, just different names.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, ad group is the same as ad set, and then ads are called the same thing, campaigns are the same thing. So if we looked at it like this, so let's say campaign 1, that's our Nike campaign, so we're going to lump all of our Nike branded campaigns in there, or our ad groups in there rather. And so the first ad group would be all about Nike running shoes. And so then below that ad group, we'd bid on keywords like Nike Air running, Nike running shoes, Nike running black, Nike running red, things like that. And then we'd have ads crafted to line up with those keywords. And then maybe the other ad group we have in our Nike campaign is Nike basketball shoes. And so then we'd bid on keywords like Nike basketball shoes, Nike basketball sneakers, Nike basketball kicks for those hip people out there searching for kicks. Buy Nike basketball shoes, new Nike basketball shoes, things like that. So you have, the goal is under each ad group to have a really tightly themed group of keywords, and we'll get into that as we look at search ads for prospecting. Right here we're really just looking at the branded side of things, but it's still important to kind of understand that structure and the way that works. And so it's also important to know that there's some things you control at the campaign level, and then some things you control at the ad group level. And so at the campaign level, and these are things you control, and so basically when they're at the campaign level, then they control everything below it, right? So all the ad groups that are part of a campaign, these things would apply to them as well. So setting things like location, that is determined at the campaign level. So if you set a location for a campaign, every ad group, every ad, every keyword that's in that campaign would be affected by that. The daily budget, so how much you're willing to spend on a campaign in a given day, that is at the campaign level. So you can't give a campaign one budget and then break out that budget specifically in the ad groups below it. It doesn't work that way. Budgets are based on campaigns only. Also device targeting. So this is not that important for branded search, but it is important in other areas. If you want to bid down on mobile, or if you want to exclude tablets or something like that, you have to do that at the campaign level, not the ad group level. Some people like to create ad schedules. We do this quite a bit for some accounts, where you say, hey, I don't want my ads to run overnight, or I want to mainly run during the week and not on the weekends, things like that. That is done at the at the campaign level. And then ad delivery. So I'll show you this in AdWords in a little bit, but you can determine your delivery of ads, how aggressive you want to be. That's actually easier to show you, so I'll show you in a minute. And then bid strategies. So bidding for clicks, bidding for conversions, that's controlled at the campaign level as well. And then at the ad group level, you can control things like keyword negatives, which we'll talk a lot about here in just a minute. Audiences, so the actual people that you're kind of targeting in addition to keywords or along with keywords, and then extensions. Extensions, though, all three of these you can also apply at the campaign level, but I think they work a little bit better at the ad group level in a lot of cases. So,
and if you feel overwhelmed by this structure of campaign, ad group, and ad, and the different sort of elements and things that you can modify and manipulate on the campaign level, like the location of where your ads are showing and things like that, each of these bullets, we will also, at a future time, provide you with a description of what each of these are, so that you can, when you're reading through with the PDF, kind of have a sense of what they are and how they fit in.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. We should put together a glossary. Actually, I think I may have one already.
I have one for sure.
Okay, cool. So we can do that, and then I'm going to walk through the account in just a minute and kind of go over these things, some of these things there as well, which I think will help. So
yeah, for sure. Super cool.
So let's talk about keywords versus search terms, or keywords versus search queries. And this is important to understand the difference and how this works. A lot of times, even people in my line of work, even I confuse them at times. But just to be clear, keywords are words you bid on. So a keyword is a word or phrase that you tell Google, hey, I want to bid on this keyword. Okay. Search terms or search queries are what the user actually types in. Okay, so that's what they type in when they're at Google on their desktop or on their phone. It's the exact words they use. Those are search terms or search queries. And then when search queries match your keywords, your ads show. Now, you may be looking at that and thinking, well, duh, that totally makes sense. But this is important because there's a thing called match types. And so this is where Google has to make the determination, hey, what actual search queries, what search terms will actually trigger your ad? So if you as an advertiser say, hey, I'm willing to pay for this keyword, then what about this actual search query, which kind of matches it but kind of doesn't? Do we show this ad or do we not show this ad? And so I want to walk through these match types quickly. But this will also be important in just looking at the overall way Google AdWords works. And so there's broad, phrase, exact, and then modified broad match for keywords. So let's look at broad. So a broad keyword would be, to use our example before, Nike running shoes. And it would be listed just like that. Nike running shoes, no punctuation, nothing around it. And so when you're using broad match, this is the most liberal, most open. Google will just kind of find anything that's closely related to that keyword and show your ad.
They're going to show you for Adidas.
Yeah,
know?
if someone just types in shoe, you'll probably show up for that. So yeah, broad is super broad. We will not recommend broad essentially ever, but just so you understand what it is. So this would mean your ads would show if someone typed in Nike, someone typed in Nike running shoes, someone typed in a random query like why is Nike called Nike, which actually, Ezra, do you know the story of what the founder of Nike, what he wanted to call the company? Did you ever?
Phil Knight of Shoe Dog?
Yes, which is one of my favorite books in recent years. Shoe
It's
Dog.
a good book, man. I got annoyed with him a couple times during it, I have to admit. But ultimately, I ended up, loving the guy at the end.
Yeah, I love the stories. Yeah, but do you remember Dimension 6? Dimension 6. Just a terrible name. Anyway, so if someone typed in, why is Nike called Nike? I just want to know the story. Your ad would show up for that if you bid for something broad like Nike running shoes as a broad match. Okay, so let's get a little bit better, a little more refined. So this is phrase match. So if we entered the same thing, Nike running shoes, but we put it in quotation marks, this is a phrase match. So what that means is that that exact phrase, Nike running shoes, those words in that order have to appear somewhere in the search query, somewhere in the search term, somewhere in what someone actually types in. So you could show up for Nike running shoes, which is exactly what you have there. You could show up for the best Nike running shoes, Nike running shoe prices. You could show up for that as well. Google has made it a little more open, so like misspellings and plurals, they're pretty kind of open on as far as that goes. So phrase match, we have a lot of success with phrase match. And then kind of the best, most targeted, most specific, least chance for waste is exact match. And so exact match is those words in brackets. So Nike running shoes. And really what that means is you only show up if someone types in those words in that order and only those words. So you'd show up for basically Nike running shoes or Nike running shoe, and that's it. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to add in that, like, in the wig days, I would bid on phrases like buy mullet wig, right? Or buy a mullet wig, or any phrase that included the words buy and mullet wig. You know what I mean? So like that is just giving you a sense of phrase match.
Yep, exactly. And so then, and actually, depending on when that was broad match modified available at that time? I would assume.
Yeah, they had modified broad match.
Yeah. So then that's what this looks like. So basically, what you're telling Google is, hey, if the search query contains Nike and running and shoes, then I want to show up for it. So I don't care what order those are in, as long as all three of those are in the query, then show my ad. So in the mullet wig case, if you say plus buy plus mullet plus wig, then things like where do I buy mullet wigs? How can I buy mullet wigs? Buy mullet wigs for my brother? Whatever, you would show up for those queries. So that's a quick and dirty education on match types. I know some of you may be intimately acquainted with that already, but for those that are not, it really helps. It really helps for you to know this, whether you're actually going to be running these campaigns yourself or whether it be a team member or an agency. You kind of need to know this stuff so you can dig in and have a look for yourself. So negative keywords, this will make a lot of sense as well. This is where you tell Google, hey, we don't want to show up for these things, right? So this is especially important if you're doing anything other than exact match. So if you're going phrase match, if you're going broad modified, especially if you're going broad, you need to add in some negatives. So let's say you were bidding on Nike running shoes as a phrase match.
Real quick.
Yeah.
To interrupt you, Brett, the best negative that you want to add is free, because you'd be surprised how many people search for free product.
Yep, absolutely. And actually that was exactly what I was going to say. So great minds think alike. I love it. So yeah, adding free, or maybe you want to add things like coupon code if you don't want people clicking on you that are just looking for a coupon code. We've got a whole list of negatives that we always apply to a campaign. So things like pictures. So if someone's just searching for a picture of something, let the image results show that. I don't necessarily want to pay for that. Someone looking for a job or careers or hiring in my keyword, I don't want to show up for that either. So these are words you want to look at and say, okay, don't show my ad for these things. So that's super important as well. And so with that understanding of keywords, let's talk a little bit about the actual ad, the ad itself. And so as we look at those text ads, one thing we highly recommend, and Google says this too, like Google will say, hey, if you're not doing this, do it ASAP. Have 3 ad variations per ad group, at least 2. And basically the reason for this is you always want to be testing. You want to see, hey, which headline works better, which descriptive line works better, which URL, which display URL works better, because you can kind of customize that a little bit. I'll show you that in a minute. So you always want to be testing, and if you find one ad is doing way better than another, pause the underperforming ad, create a new one to test against the winner. So always be testing with this. The headline is the most important part of the ad. The description is also important, and then the display URL is also critical. So a couple of tips and then we'll look at some examples here in just a minute. So a few things to keep in mind. What makes you unique? What's your USP, your unique selling proposition, or your unique value proposition? Are you unique because everything is organic, or everything is chemical free, or everything is handmade, or made in the USA, or whatever? What makes you unique? And so you have to think about that and how you can say that in just a few words, right? Just a few characters. It also needs to be relevant. And going back to looking at quality score, thinking about click-through rate, you need to use the keywords you're targeting. So in this case, the keyword is primarily your brand name, right? But you need to think about where you use that, how you use that. I'm going to recommend you use your brand name as the very first thing in the first headline, and so we'll look at that in just a second as well. You do want something to drive urgency, right? So provide some kind of call to action, something even along the lines of ships free, or free returns, or something that's going to be a call to action. Save today, things like that. They're going to want to push someone to take action right now. And then what's really important is creating consistency, between the ad and the landing page, so that when they get to whatever page you send them to, there's consistency between the ad and where you're sending them. And so here's just a quick look. This is when you're in the account and actually creating the ad. And so this is a very simple, Boom by Cindy Joseph Pro Age Cosmetics ad. So you can see right there, and let me bring my cursor back here. So this is actually the two headlines. So you got headline 1, headline 2 here. Depending on how long you make these headlines, so actually we have a full 30 characters for both these headlines. We're only using 20 for headline 1 and only 17 for headline 2, which is actually fine. For a branded campaign, you don't really need to use all the characters. And we've seen lots of split tests where fewer characters outperform more characters. As a general rule, I like to use everything that's available to me, but especially for the branded campaigns, it's more about just making it clear and making it very obvious that, hey, I'm looking for Boom by Cindy Joseph, and here it is. This is like the official Boom by Cindy Joseph page. And so, I talked about USP. There you go, USP, Pro Age Cosmetics, right? So that message that it resonated with someone either on Facebook or through Google Display Network or elsewhere, and now they're coming back and looking for Boom, and so we're re-emphasizing that USP right there in the headline to get someone to come back. Now this is something that's interesting. Oops. Looking at the display URL and looking at ways you can kind of craft that. So you can see here you actually have two paths, right? And this is the display path. So this doesn't actually have to be the structure of the URL. So you do have to give Google your actual URL, but right here you can kind of customize it. So you have up to 15 characters per path where you can add basically more selling copy. So add other things you think might attract the click. Buy online, say,
you don't have to go to your website and create this URL. This is just a display link where Google's going to show that to people. So it's nothing you have to do on your website side. It's just instead of the link that they're going to go to when they click on the ad, they will see this one.
Yep, exactly. So yep, as long as you'll give Google the actual landing page you want to send traffic to, but this is where you get to kind of customize that and say, hey, but here's what I want you to see to try to get you to click and try to get you interested so that you click. If you look below that in that ad, you can see several extensions, which we're going to dive into next. And so extensions just really make the ad bigger, allow you to take up more real estate, and allow you to get the click. So what's got the white background, that's the actual ad copy. So you got two headlines, the display, URL, and then the description. That makes up the actual ad itself. And so with that, let's kind of get into, so again, what I recommend is the first headline, let's just be your name. I mean, these be your name. If there's maybe another word or two that's closely associated with your name, then maybe put that in headline 1 as well, but make sure your name is the first thing. Because again, these campaigns are all about bidding on variations of your name. So put your name first, and then that second headline, that's going to be your USP. That's going to be your tagline. That's going to be what makes you different. For our buddy Steven Sashin at Zero Shoes, his thing is, feel the world. So, that may go in the description. Maybe he's talking about barefoot shoes, high performance barefoot shoes, things like that. For you, it's Pro Age Cosmetics, and so think about that USP that goes in headline 2, and then anything else that makes you unique that doesn't fit in headline 2, put that in the description, as well as things that will get the click, like wide selection or shop now or free shipping or things like that, to make someone want to click. So that's the ad itself. Pretty straightforward. We'll talk about more related to search ads in the bonus module, where we look at prospecting, because there's a real art to this and a science to it. But when you're bidding on your own name, it's relatively straightforward. One thing to keep in mind is if you've got people searching for very specific categories. So let's say you sell outdoor cooking equipment. So you sell pellet grills, you sell stoves, you sell fire pits. You may want to break down your brand campaign by category. So here's the Ezra's Outdoor Life company. Here's our grill ad group. Here's our stove ad group, our fire pit ad group. So you may want to break it down like that, but then it'd be kind of the same thing. So you're leading with your name as the headline 1. Headline 2 may be the product type and something unique, and then you add the description below that. So pretty straightforward as far as these ads go. Let's look now at extensions, and let me just talk about some extensions, and then I'll show some examples in just a minute. And so the idea here is this allows you to control more real estate, allows you to expand greatly. You can double, triple the size of the amount of real estate you take up with your ads. And that leads to better click-through rates, right? So that's important because, 1, we want more people clicking on our ads, but 2, as our click-through rate goes up, if you remember the quality score discussion before, as your click-through rate goes up, your CPCs go down. So Google rewards you by saying, man, you guys create great ads, so we're going to raise your quality score, which will effectively lower your CPCs or just allow you to get better rankings, right? And so a lot of benefit in these extensions. So let's talk about some must-have extensions here. First thing to keep in mind is that Google recommends you have a minimum of 4. So for every ad group, have a minimum of 4 extensions. Google does not guarantee they will show all of your extensions every time. They will consider the query, they'll consider the device that a user's on, and then they'll choose the extensions that they think are most appropriate. So 4 that we feel like are pretty much essential, and I'll show you what these look like in just a second. But the first is site links. We looked at site links in the beginning, actually. Call-out extensions, price extensions, and then snippets. And so then in addition to that, you may consider review extensions. I'll show you that in a second. You may want to do what Ezra did. He had a call extension in that ad, or at least in that sample ad there was. But that's only if that's applicable, only if you want to receive calls. And then location extensions. Again, I know probably most people here don't have a physical store too. You probably don't have a guide shop or anything like that. But if you do, then consider a location extension. So here is an example. I believe another ribboner, our buddy Peter at Groove Life. Awesome silicone rings. I'm wearing one right now, as a matter of fact. And so this is one of his ads that we created. And so that top piece, just that top rectangle, that's the actual ad. So 2 headlines, display URL, and the description. So that's the actual ad copy. Below that, that first line below that, those are callouts. Now, callouts are not individually clickable, so they're just part of the ad. You click on any of those callouts, it's just going to take you to whatever landing page you tell Google to send traffic to from this ad. But basically the callout, they're just like little reasons why you would buy, little offers, little USPs, little calls to action, things like that. So free exchanges, liquid injected, breathable features, right? And then the next piece is a snippet, and a snippet is really just more details about the product. So it's just more information. It's not really sales copy. It's not offers, and you kind of have to fit a mold. And when we get into the account, you'll see this. So you can choose styles, you can choose materials, models, things like that. This is just styles. So there's original, thin, and custom. And then below that, and then same with snippets, so you click anywhere in that area, that's going to just take you to the main landing page that you chose for the ad. And then below that, those are the site links. And so these are a little bit different. So if I click on our products, that's going to take me to a unique page. If I click on About Us, that's going to take me to the About Us page. Click on silicone ring sizing, that's going to take me to the sizing page. And so those are site links. But all of those are really important. And then here's an example. We're talking about grills just a minute ago. So here's call outs up top, snippets. So this is the model version of snippets. Site links. This is kind of site links compressed into those little versions there. And then I love the next one, super powerful. That's the price extension. And so basically what that does is that pulls in information about an individual product and gives you the title of the product, the price, a few little details. Sometimes you'll have that more option where you can kind of see those other products there. So really enticing to click on that. So that's super helpful as well. And so yeah, quick explanation just to kind of further clarify that, because callouts and snippets, they look almost identical, but the callouts, it's more about offers and USPs and things like that, so award-winning, free shipping, 24/7 support. And then a snippet, it's informational, so you actually have to choose from these things. Like one of these words will show with your snippets. You can show brands, which that wouldn't apply to Boom, because Boom sells Boom. But styles, so it could go back to the original thin, liquid or custom, going back to the Groove Life example. Types, models, things like that. So that's the snippet, and that's super important. And so let's do this. I want to go to AdWords and show how to walk through this. While I get that going, do you see any?
Real quick,
yeah.
I'm in the same account on the same page, but just with the old version right now. But I know that this is a lot of information, and it may seem overwhelming, but it's actually easier to set up than you think. And we really want you to have a thorough understanding of the infrastructure of Google AdWords and what each element of the ad that you're building is and how to implement it. So we'll have, obviously in the final version, standard operating procedures where you could hand this to someone and say, implement a brand search campaign, and everything will be broken out in PDFs as well. So.
Yep, absolutely.
This is so good, Brett. I mean, this is gold, man.
Good, awesome. And so, yeah, it really is easier. You're going to kind of see that now. We'll be able to walk through this quickly, but I think it does help to have kind of the backdrop and, why this and why that. But yeah, this is how you actually create it. So I'm going to show you this in the new version. I'm with you, though, as I still like the old version better, but this is slowly, sort of, kind of growing on me. And the reason I'm doing this, though, is because before long, this will be your only option. You'll have to work in the new interface. So I'll show this to you here. This is actually pretty similar, whether in the new or the old interface. So you start by clicking on Search Campaigns right here, and then we're going to click on Campaigns right here. I've got some screenshots of this in the presentation that I'll share with everybody, but that'll help kind of serve as a cheat sheet. But I want to walk you through it. I think if we navigate through the account, it's actually a little bit clearer, at least for this recording. So once we get here, then we're going to go to this plus campaign bar right here, and then we're going to choose our campaign type. So this is important. We're going to choose the search network because we're creating a search ad, a text ad. I'm going to choose sales as the goal, right? So that's what we're trying to do. We're not trying to get leads. We're not trying to just drive website traffic. We want to get sales. So it's important to kind of note that. And then the way we're going to get that is through website visits. So that's kind of our goal. You don't have to add your website here. You can if you want to. If you do that, Google will pick some keywords for you. Not that important in this case because we're just doing a branded campaign. So I'm just going to skip that and click on Continue. Now, this is important. I'm just going to create brand test as the name. Google is a little bit sneaky. They are trying to force you to use the display network just a little bit. Love the display network. We use it frequently. We had a whole session on that. But you want to uncheck it here, right? Don't run your branded search ads on the display network. Not a good idea. So uncheck that. Choose your locations. So it's either going to be the U.S. or U.S. and Canada or whatever country you're in. So you're going to choose that. Choose your languages. really focusing on this is unique. Now, once we get into the kind of the top of funnel prospecting ad groups and campaigns, then I would want to change this. But for this, since this is your brand name, since we know people are going to convert when they're searching for your brand name, I just want to get clicks. I just want people to click on the ad. I am going to choose manually set bids. Don't need any AI or any of Google's assistants on the bids. We'll just create that. So this is going to be your budget. Really for you, I mean, if you're just getting started, just put a number here and then watch the results. But we'll just do $10. That would actually not be enough for Boom. But anyway, I'll go ahead and put that in there. So this is just a sample. And then this is what I was talking about on the delivery method. Now, this is kind of interesting. I'm going to show this to you. So there's what's called standard or accelerated. And the difference there is if you go standard, Google's going to look at that budget and they're going to say, okay, $10, you're going to pay about $1 a click, so you get 10 clicks for the day. So we don't want you to burn up all your clicks, you know, between 8 and 9 in the morning. So we're just going to show your ads sparingly throughout the day. Okay, for some campaign types, I like that. For some campaigns, if we're being kind of conservative, we're not sure what's going to work or what's not going to work, I'm fine with going standard. For this, I want to know if I'm running out of budget. I don't want Google to be sparing about showing my ad, because again, I'm just targeting my own brand name. I'm targeting people looking for me. I want to show up every time. I want to know as soon as I'm running out of budget. So I would choose accelerated in this case. Don't need to really worry about start and end dates unless this is, you know, like a specific sale ad, you know, which we have done. You know, we did that for Black Friday, Cyber Monday for a lot of clients, created specific ads for those sales, created start dates and end dates, and then that way the campaign automatically ends on those dates, but that's not all that important. Let's talk about our extensions, okay? So here's where we actually set up those extensions we were talking about. So site links is actually really easy. Google's going to give you some examples, and then you just basically pick the ones that you want, right? And so you can choose as many as you want, and then Google's going to kind of narrow that down, but you do have to pick at least 2. So I recommend you pick 4 to 6, because up to 4 can show, and usually when it's your brand name, like we looked at the Zappos example, the Nike example, the Boom example, oftentimes all 4 will show. So you're going to pick that, or you could create a new site link if you want to. So you can create a new site link by choosing that. That's the text, descriptive line, URL. So you can craft that to be whatever you want it to be, which is super cool. So let's look then at callouts. So again, these are like your little USP, little offers, right? So handmade, natural ingredients, so animal testing, pro-age cosmetics. So this is where, again, you choose the ones you want. You can just choose all 4, pull those over, right? And then this also, let's just choose all 10. Then you can preview and see what the ad would look like. So here you go. Here's the ad with those site links there. That's what that's going to look like. That is the mobile version. That's the desktop version. Kind of give you an idea. These are what the callouts are going to look like. So that's mobile. That is desktop. Okay. So that's callouts. Now let's look at a call extension. I'm guessing most people aren't going to do, so I'm not going to cover that. Snippets. This is where, again, these look like callouts. So this, you know, basically same size, kind of same area as callouts, but they are different. And so show you that if you click Create Callout. This is where you have to choose the type. So these are limited to certain categories. You can't just go freestyling and kind of make up whatever you want to make up. One of these words will appear before your snippets. So you could choose brands. Like if you sell multiple brands and people search by brand, then I highly recommend that. Choose brands and then put those there. But most likely for you guys, it's going to be things like models. So, you know, models of the product. It's going to be styles, or it's going to be types. So one of those is usually what you're going to pick. And then once you pick that header, then you just enter the text for those, right? So if we chose types, you know, then we could do, you know, moisturizer. You get the idea. Moisturizer, you could do lip stuff, whatever. You know, do the types. So again, the idea is we're just giving more descriptors so that people know when they see the ad, hey, do I want to click on this? Do I want that? Ah, yes, I was looking for moisturizers. I'm going to click on that. Now here's one that I didn't talk a whole lot about. I'll just cancel that. Review extensions. Now, one easy way to do this is to set up a Google My Business account. This is where you'll have information about your business, but you do have to list a location when you do that. So I know for a lot of people that doesn't work. It can be your corporate headquarters though. So if you actually have an office, I recommend you create a Google My Business. And then as you get reviews, so as people leave you Google reviews, you can pull those reviews into your ad. So those reviews can show directly under your headline, and you'll see, 4.7 stars, 4.7 rating, that type of thing. What Google's doing now, and just to be transparent, I have not messed with this really much at all. And I was talking to one of my top paid search specialists about this, and he said, this is pretty new. We haven't really messed with it either. So this is where you can actually add review text. So you could take a little bit of text around what people say about you, list the source, list the URL where that review text is found, and then submit it and see what happens. I don't know. This is something I'm really interested to test more here in the coming weeks. But that's the review extension. And then finally, this is where you can add information about your products. Okay, so this is the Boom Color, Boom Stick Trio, 8-ounce Boom Silk. You can add more products. So it's basically product title and price is what that is. Okay, and then you can usually leave this setting kind of how it is, ad rotation. Just leave that to optimize best performing ad is fine. Or you could choose, rotate ads indefinitely. I don't mind that either. It's really up to you. On the branded side of things, it's not as important, but either one of those options is actually fine. The schedule is where you choose a schedule if you want to, but not completely necessary. My philosophy is, if this is a branded campaign, then I want to show up all the time, right? Anytime someone's searching for me by name, I want to show up for that search. So let's pop back here to the presentation for just a minute, and then I've got a couple other things to get to before we open up to Q&A. So let's talk about bidding really quickly and how we're going to bid. There's a few things to keep in mind because this will impact future sessions. So looking at things like audience-based bidding. So I'm going to bid more if someone is typing in the keyword or typing in the search term that I'm going after, and they're on a remarketing list or one of my YouTube lists or something like that. Or you can do what's called position-based bidding, where you're saying, hey, Google, I always want to be in position 1, so automatically, bid more to put me in position 1. You can do device targeting, right? So you can bid up or bid down depending on the device type that a user is using. You can bid up or down depending on the time of day, so things like that. But really, what I recommend for the brand campaign is that you just start by entering $1. Just enter $1 as your bid. Again, if you go back to the example of the ad rank and the quality score, you're only going to pay as much as you need to beat the guy below you, right? And if your ad is super relevant, which it will be, and your site will be super relevant for your own name, you're going to have the best quality score and so therefore the best ad rank. So start with a $1 bid and then see if Google tells you if that bid is below the page 1 bid. So if you could lowball this, you could go like 30 cents just to see, but likely Google's going to say, that's below the page 1 bid. If you see that message, then bid up until you no longer see that message, and then just kind of watch. And so let me show you what you should watch. We'll go back to AdWords, and so looking at search impression share, this is one of my favorite metrics to look at. Outside of the most important metrics like conversions and return on ad spend. Search impression share at least shows you how much more room you have, like how much more visibility you could get, what the size of your opportunity is, things like that. It can also show you what your competitors, how much market share your competitors have. So let's get out of this. I actually don't need to create this campaign because one already exists. But let's look here at this brand campaign here for Boom. So I've already added search impression share, but as you get into a campaign, you won't see search impression share in the beginning. So you want to control that by customizing the column. And so if we click these 3 vertical bars here, I'm not really sure I don't know what that visual means, but anyway, click on that, and then we're going to click on Modify Columns, just like so. And then this is where you can add in all the columns that you want to see. Now, search impression share is here under competitive metrics. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to choose search impression share, just like that. You can, if you want to, add these things like search lost impression share to budget or to rank. And the reason those are important is, if you're missing out on some search impressions, maybe it's because your daily budget's too low. Maybe you need to raise your daily budget. If that's the case, this metric is going to tell you that. Or it could be because of rank, and that would be more of a quality score ad rank issue. So if you're missing out on searches due to rank, that means you're just not relevant enough. You're just not showing up for those queries in this particular campaign or ad group. So we're going to go ahead and click apply, and now we can see those. So this is a brand campaign. We want to be as close to 85 to 95%, even 100%. If we can. And so what's happening here is, we're at like 85% search impression share for that ad group. Only 1% is lost due to budget, so we may need to bump this budget just a little bit. 12% is lost to rank. So then, we'd want to start looking at particular keywords. So then you can look at search impression share at the keyword level. So Boom by Cindy Joseph, again, this is going back to our keyword discussion. This would be exact match. So someone has to type in Boom by Cindy Joseph, those words in that order, only those words. That's when this keyword would be triggered to show the ad. So you got 94% search impression share. Now let's add in those other columns here. Let's go back to competitive metrics and see for the keywords we're missing a little bit. Let's see why we're missing. Okay, so actually all these are phenomenal. So Boom Cleanser, losing a little bit due to rank. So what we may do here, like what you may want to look at is you may say, you know what, I'm going to break out Cleanser into its own ad group, and it's going to be, Boom Cleanser to be in the same branded campaign, right? So no need to create a new campaign. There's be a new ad group. I'll create a specific ad talking about Cleanser, and then now that's going to raise my quality score, raise my ad rank, and help me with my search impression share. So look at some of these other ones. Again, this Boom Color, that's another one where maybe we need to think about that. The other piece though is that the word color can apply to a lot of things. So I don't know that you need to necessarily mess with that a whole lot. But that's the process that I would go through. Is I would start with a relatively low bid. I would then turn the campaign on and start watching the performance and start seeing what that search impression share looks like. Am I capturing as much as I can? Am I capturing as much as I want? And really, for these brand campaigns, it should be as close to 100% as you can. High 90s, mid to high 90s is ideal. And so that's what we're looking at when it comes to bidding. Now let's talk a little bit about measuring success, and then we'll open it up to Q&A. And so a few things to keep in mind, and this will become really important as we look at top of funnel YouTube, top of funnel search, top of funnel Google Shopping. I want to take those remarketing lists, right? All those remarketing lists we created last session, and I want to go ahead and add them to this campaign, to this branded campaign. And you may think, well, why? Like, why would I do that? These are people that are searching for my name, so do I care if they've been to my site before or not? And the quick answer is no, you don't care if they've been to your site before or not. But what you want to do with this is if you layer in those lists, you can then see how they perform. So let me give you a case in point. You can create, and hopefully you either did or if you haven't already, you will once we do the YouTube session, but create a list of people that have viewed your YouTube campaign, viewed a YouTube ad. If you layer in that list of people that have watched one of your YouTube ads, you put that in to this brand campaign, you can now see the impact of that list, right? So the idea is some of these top of funnel campaigns, people aren't going to convert directly. But what they're going to do is after they watch the ad or maybe they click on that top of funnel ad, later they're going to come back and search for you by name. And so if you have those lists layered into the campaign, then you can see how they perform. And I'll show you how to do that in just a second. Then obviously you want to look at either your CPA if that's what's most important to you. If you're like Ezra and you're thinking more about lifetime value and you're thinking, hey, if I get them to order once, I can get them to buy again and again. So I'm going to pay X for that first purchase. Or for you, maybe return on ad spend. So maybe it's more about each sale needs to be profitable, and so you're looking for a 3x, 4x, 5x return, whatever the case may be. And keep in mind, this should be your best performing campaign, right? I mean, these are people typing in your name, looking for you specifically. So the return on ad spend should be off the charts. People should be converting left and right if your site is good. And so keep those things in mind. Now, what I want to do is I want to show how to layer in the audiences and how we can layer them in just to watch performance of those lists. So let's do that, and then I think we'll be ready for Q&A. So let me pop back into AdWords really quickly. And actually, well, yeah, I'll show you. So when we're here, let's go back to a campaign. So go search, go campaigns. Now let's just click this brand US right here, and now we can choose audiences. So this audience tab right here, you can see that a lot of audiences are already there, but this is where I could click on this little pencil and then choose an audience. So then I want to look at, let's say, YouTube users, and I'm just going to choose all of these. So I want to see how these perform. Okay, and then I'm going to choose observe. And so what that means is you're not going to bid any differently, right? You're just going to tell Google, hey, just observe this list. So layer this list in to the campaign and then give me data about that list. So then what we can see is, hey, here's the performance of the campaign as a whole, but then here's performance broken down by that list. So here's how that listed in terms of clicks and conversions and things like that. So if you do targeting, that's going to also say, that's going to tell Google, hey, only show this ad to people who type in these keywords and people that are on this list, or people that type in these search terms that are on this list. So we're going to do observation only, not targeting. I'm going to click Save, so now we'll have those YouTube lists there. And then you can kind of see the way this works. So we can sort these by clicks. You can see all site visitors, a lot of clicks. We don't have conversions layered on. I can show you that really quickly. We can layer in conversions and see things like conversion value divided by cost, which is return on ad spend, cost per conversion. Those are all important. So we'll add those in, and then we can see, again, broken down by list, how are those lists performing? So when we get to, I just layered in those YouTube lists. That's probably not going to be, no data yet. But you can see, hey, how are those lists performing? So people that have watched my YouTube video, people that have been to these pages on my site, how are they performing when they come back and just search for me by name? So layering in those audiences is super important. So with that, I think we're ready to bust out some Q&A. Anything you've thought of, Ezra, or if not, we can just open it up to...
No, it was super good, man, and I think that with a cheat sheet and with looking at this one more time, it's not going to be hard for you to hop in there and set up a search network campaign and put your keywords related to your brand in there and add a few extensions and get that live.
Yep.
Because that is an immediate ROI. It's just going to continue to be valuable and more valuable as time goes on, that branded search campaign. And so, we're here. You can reach out to us if you have questions about it. Brett has been doing amazing cheat sheets for the live training, which have been helpful. So, yeah, I'm excited about it, man.
Cool. Yep. And and I recommend you create this as one of your first campaigns, because just like Ezra said, you're going to get conversions right away. It's going to work right away. You're going to begin to dominate the SERPs right away. But then also, like I mentioned, that account level quality score, that's going to help your other campaign types also. So Google will look favorably on that. Okay. Here we go. Should negative keywords be broad, exact, or phrase match? Okay, great question. So negatives also have a match type, okay? So if you say something like, so just give an example. Let's go back to the Nike shoes example. And let's say we were bidding on Nike, let's go to the broad match modified. So we're going to bid on Nike, plus running plus shoes. I may want to add to that campaign just as a precaution. Exact match shoe, I don't want to show up for that. So if someone just searches for shoe, I don't want to show up for it. So the real answer there is you want to use different negative match types for different purposes. And so, really depending on the name of your company, this may or may not be that important. Like we've got a client that sells microfiber mops and cloths and things like that, and so their name is Microfiber Wholesale, so kind of a generic name. Sometimes people type in wholesale microfiber as an example, and they're not trying to find that company. They're just looking for microfiber wholesale prices. So we have to be a little more careful there with negatives than we do maybe for somebody else. If someone types in Nike, that's usually not by mistake. And so the real answer there is we usually set up negatives by exact or phrase, very rarely broad, right? Because if you put shoes in as an example as a broad negative, then any search query that involves shoe is going to be blocked. So usually you're going to want to just use exact or phrase match for your negative. So great question there. That's awesome. Let's see. How do you bid on a competitor's name? Yeah. So we'll cover that more in the prospecting module, but excuse me, it's basically the same concept. You're going to create like a campaign called competitors, and then you're going to create ad groups that's, this is for competitor X. And then in that ad group, you're going to create ads and target keywords related to that competitor. And you're going to need to be careful. You're going to have to pay a lot for that. Your quality score is going to be bad. You may not be able to use that competitor's name in your ad at all. Usually you can't if it's a trademark name. So your quality score is going to be low. You're going to pay a lot for it, but it can still be effective. It can still drive conversions. Let's see. Okay, so let's see here. A little confused when you're clicking on the brand USA in the left column and then keywords. Lots of keywords showed. Is that just showing the report based on the modified broad match? For keywords, would you only start the branded search campaign on my brand with a match type that is any that contains my brand name, or trying to predict multiple keywords? Hope this makes sense. I think it does. Let me go back here to the ad group, and let's just dive into that. So go to the brand ad group. So here are all the keywords. So basically what this means is that these are all the keywords that we're bidding on. So we're saying if it's exact match, boom by Cindy Joseph, we want to show up for it. We want to show for that. And with one of the ads in this ad group. If it's boom by Cindy Joseph phrase match, so maybe there's some words before, maybe some words after, but that phrase is intact just like that, we want to show up for that. And so, usually you're going to just go phrase and exact and maybe broad match modified in these brand campaigns. And then you're going to look for, okay, what do we need to add as negatives? And in this case, I mean, these are pretty tight. So probably not a lot of negatives you need to add other than things like free or hiring or career, some of that stuff. So hopefully that answered the question. Basically, these are the keywords. Oh, and then one thing that I think will help is if you look at search terms. Again, search terms, that's what someone actually types in. So if you type in search terms, this is then all of the actual search queries, so what the actual user typed in. And then it's going to say, hey, it was based on this match type. So the reason you showed for this is because you had a phrase match keyword. So Cindy Joseph makeup, that would have been the phrase match, right? And so you've got all and skincare line, right? That was kind of outside of the phrase match, but the phrase match triggered the ad for that search term. Boom, someone's using zeros instead of O's, which is interesting. Okay, maybe the O key is broken on their keyboard. Bam by Cindy Joseph. That's great. So phrase match. So this is like Cindy Joseph would be the phrase, and that's what showed up. So that can kind of help you hopefully. Like the keyword list we looked at before. That's what Ezra's bidding on. And then these are the actual search terms, actual search queries that someone typed in that match to one of those keywords. So hopefully, BJ, that makes sense. You are trying to predict what people type in, but with the phrase match, you're going to be opening up to some variations, which you can't necessarily predict that. Like why did someone type in Big Boom by Cindy Joseph? I don't know. But if you only had exact match Boom by Cindy Joseph, you wouldn't show for this keyword. But hey, we probably do. So they threw the word big in there. I don't know what they were thinking, but we still want to show up for that because it says Boom by Cindy Joseph. Okay, let's see. Yeah, if you have low search impression share, what do you do to raise it? Raise budget or max CPC? So it could be either, and that's where you go back to that metric. So if you look at that search impression share lost to budget, search impression share lost to rank. If it's budget, that just means raise your daily budget. You're running out of money, and so you're not showing up enough, and so you're missing opportunities. If it's rank, then it could be either a quality score issue or a bid issue, right? Because bid and quality score affect your rank. And so if it's by rank, then you have to adjust either your bid or change the ad to be more relevant. And so, but yeah, often it's going to be bidding up, raising your budget, or changing the ad. It's going to be one of those three things, or a combination of those three things. All right, let's see. Okay. Yeah, so Jeff mentioned listing the most used features in Google Analytics. You betcha. We can actually look at that maybe here in a minute and kind of walk through some of those things. That's great. I like that question. Let me see if there's anything specific to AdWords while we're here. Ezra, can you think of anything? Anything that was not clear or anything that people may be wondering at this point?
I think it might be valuable real quick one last time to just quickly hop through, starting from the campaign level, create a campaign, select the search network, create a ad group, just like a quick 3-minute overview of the actual flow of the creation of the branded search campaign, because
Yep.
One of the interesting things is like we went really deep on the understanding. It's why you and I are such good buddies, is like I think that is the most valuable thing you could have, is an understanding of how the platform is functioning and why your ads are going to be shown versus someone else's ads. And so we covered a lot of sort of teaching you the language of Google AdWords, and we do have an action item, which is we want you to set up a branded search campaign. And so I think running through that one more time would be
Yep, let's do that really quickly. So we showed this piece, but I'll touch on it once more. I'll get to the actual ad creation too, which I guess I didn't. I showed a screenshot of that, but didn't actually do it. So click on search, search network. I'm going to choose sales. I'm going to choose setup detail as get website visits. That's our goal. Don't really need to enter the website URL at this point. So click continue. We're going to name it. Brand test. Again, we're going to unclick the display network, super important. We're just going to choose United States. Our goal here, actually on this one, is clicks. I just want to get as many people who are searching for my name to click on me. Just going to do a $10 budget per day. Delivery method, again, I want to make that accelerated. Let's just show up every single time someone searches for our name. I want to know as soon as I run out of budget. I showed you the extensions. I'm going to skip that for now. Well, I'll just roll through it quickly. Site links, you can either choose what's there, create new ones, call outs you're going to want to set up, and then structured snippets and price extensions. Those are the ones you really want to show up for, or that you really want to create. Maybe you want to create a promotion, maybe you want to do some reviews, but for sure those four that I just showed. You go ahead and go save and continue. And then this is where we create our ad group. And so we're going to call this brand test 1. Default bid, the dollar, so we talked about. Okay. And then we're going to go Boom by Cindy Joseph as a phrase match. And that's all we'll do for now. But again, I'd want to do that same keyword as an exact match. I'd maybe want to do, actually, I'll show you what the broad modified looks like. That's where we go plus boom, plus Cindy, Cindy plus Joseph, right? And so that would be the broad match modified. So again, that means if someone's typing in a search query, it has to contain boom and Cindy and Joseph. If it has all three of those words, they're probably looking for us, and we can bet on that. So we're going to go ahead and click save and continue. Okay, we want to create our new ad, and so then this is again where we're going to look at what do we want to put in this ad, and so we're going to put Boom by Cindy. Actually, I should know this off the top of my head. Is it just boom? It's boombycindyjoseph.com. What is the actual URL, Ezra?
Yeah, it's just boombycindyjoseph.com.
Okay. It's like
We it's funny because we're in the process of like acquiring fancy domains right now that are a little shorter, you know. Um, but yeah,
right on. And it's one of those things where, when you have like your friend's number, I don't know any of my friends' phone numbers. That's all. So
totally,
I'll save them.
totally.
So I'll save my phone. So like, I don't think about the URL anymore. So headline one, boom by Cindy Joseph. Again, we're going to kind of, so that first headline needs to be really your name. And then for the second headline, it's going to be, kind of the USP. Like, what is this all about? And then, you get to choose your, whatever, free shipping if you wanted to do that, something like that. Award winning. You put whatever you want in that other path. And then the description. And so then the description, you get your little character counter here. So you got up to 80 characters for the description. You got 30 for each of the two headlines. And so then after that, you click save and continue. So I'm just going to click test right there. Click done, and then save and continue. And then, guys, you're kind of up and running at that point, right?
Yeah, and then you go in, you add more keywords over time.
Yep.
You play around, you see what keywords are triggering your ads. You do a little research there. Maybe you get fancy and funky, like Brett and I were, or like Brett was mentioning. He's going to show you in the prospecting module where you put in keywords of potentially competitor brands or keywords like makeup for older women, phrase match. Now, there's not going to be a lot of search volume for the keyword makeup for older women, but the search volume that does exist, it makes sense to bid on, and you'll have keywords like that for your market.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely, and yeah. So again, I would have created 3 ads. Had this been a real effort, I would have created 3 ads. I would have loaded up on those extensions, at least 4 extensions, and built those out. And then you just watch and you look at adding more keywords. You check that search term report to see, man, am I getting any weird search queries? Do I need to add any additional negatives to this? I'll go into negatives again when we do kind of the prospecting module, because that's important in a few different campaign types. Google Shopping, as an example, is important there too. But for your brand campaigns, you're not going to need that many negatives. It's going to be pretty focused anyway. So okay, let's see.
We might be.
Yes. Yeah, I think so. I think this is the last one I see by BJ. Yeah. So when you click through, so let's go back to these campaigns. So go back to search campaigns, go to campaigns. I think brand US is the one we were looking at. And then if you click audiences, this just shows all the audiences that are layered into that campaign. Now, none of these have a bid adjustment, meaning you could take an audience and tell Google, hey, if someone types in one of these, if someone types in a search term that triggers one of these keywords, and they're on this list, then bid more for that person. But that's not necessary for these campaigns because they're branded campaigns. But really, this just shows here are people that are on that list. So people that are on that list, here's how many clicks you got from that list. Here's your average CPC for people on that list. Here's the cost per conversion right here, conversion value over cost. So that way you can begin to just watch performance. And I love this feature. I kind of probably skipped over this a little bit too quickly, but again, this is where it's important as you build all these remarketing lists, which we'll continue to talk about more. I kind of gave you the top 4 last week. There's a few more you can build as we go. Then I want to layer those into the branded campaign, because that's how a lot of people convert. They'll maybe see a shopping ad, or before that they'll see a YouTube ad. We'll put them on a remarketing list because of that activity. But maybe they don't buy. Maybe they don't buy right then. A lot of people will not. 97% plus won't. And so then you layer in that audience to the brand campaign, and now maybe on the 3rd visit, someone's just going to type in "Boom" by Cindy Joseph in a Google search, click on the site, and they will convert. And then, but having these audiences layered in or added into the campaign allows you to see performance by that audience type. So hopefully that makes sense. I will touch on that again because that's important for other modules as well. So I think that may be it.
I think we're done like a dog's dinner. Well, thank you so much for showing up, and Brett Curry for flexing your guns and
Yeah, baby.
taking us through
Now,
Google AdWords. It's really
now
fun.
I will say, so this session was fun. The next two, though, man, I am super jazzed about. So next week is Google Shopping, and this one we're gonna get a little creative. There's some really cool stuff we can do with Google Shopping, even when we're kind of going after brand or our own remarketing lists. Google Shopping's kind of been my thing, for several years. So I'm gonna lay out our strategies for Google Shopping. And then the week after that is YouTube, and I'm equally stoked about YouTube. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. A lot of really fun stuff to dive into. So we'll see you guys on the next call. Brett Curry, thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Talk soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.